So I wanted to see how Russians will react to 1420 talking about how one of their interviewers, they interviewed somebody in Russia, they gave an opinion that was critical of the Russian government, and then they got arrested. And so he decided, 1420, the guy behind the channel, to make that a topic and go around Russia asking people, hey, somebody answered my questions on camera and then they got arrested. What do you think of that? Now, I think if they're told that somebody got arrested on your show for being critical of the Russian government, they're probably not going to be motivated to be too critical of the Russian government on camera. But even though they have an obvious immediate disincentive, I'm still interested to see how people react when told about this, or whether people are really just going to stand there and like justify, like, yeah, okay, I mean, if you don't support the war, go to prison. You know what? I'm going to be as careful as possible. Well, let's start from the beginning. You know what? I'm going to be as careful as possible and not state my opinion on camera. Why not? Don't you want 10 years in prison? I'm not going to say what I think. Oh, he was interviewed by Radio Liberty. I don't know why I thought it was his channel, but Radio Liberty, yeah. I don't know this person. I can't tell you anything. This man said he doesn't support the situation. I'm far from politics, so I can't help you. Sorry. You will definitely not face 10 years then.
Okay. So right now we're at Metro Dynamo, it's park, and mostly finance workers work here. One person, Yuri Komarov, you probably don't know him. He participated in a street interview, but not on our channel. It was another channel. Okay. And he said some things about Russian army and the things that going on right now. And now he's facing 10 years in prison. Yeah, so...
Shit happens.
Shit happens.
If you don't support Russia Federation and the Russian army while you are located...
Wait, he's speaking English, so this is going to make it really easy. Let's just listen.
Yeah, so...
Shit happens. If you don't support Russia Federation and the Russian army while you are located in Moscow or in other country, that's not good. Because when the country on a kind of a war or a special war operation, if you don't like or like, you shouldn't talk anything. You should support, because our guys are standing on the front line and they are attacking, they are defending our peace.
Really? Okay, so you would say that the drone attacks on Moscow since the war started has made the city more peaceful, not less peaceful. That the bombings in the cafes and all of this is more peaceful now. Russia is in a more peaceful state because Russian soldiers moved into Ukraine. Really, are there more coffins or less coffins coming home to Russian babushkas? Not to mention also, look, it'd be one thing if he was saying, go kill Russian soldiers or dodge the draft, which, look, you can still make an argument that dodging the draft is morally correct, but you would understand any state in a state of war, which it believes is existential, interfering with that. And I would still be against it, but this wasn't even that. This was him voicing opposition to the war, and that was all it took. So if we accept this guy's logic, that means anytime your country goes to war, you have to support the war, no matter what. If Russia was to invade China tomorrow, saying we need to establish the Russian colony of Manchuria, right? They would have to support it because you just have to support the guys on the front lines. This is how you easily fall, like, you're just like, oh, I don't need to think about every conflict. I don't need to think about the moral implications. Our soldiers are over there fighting, therefore I support the effort. It removes the impetus of you to think about these engagements. It removes you from the political scene almost, and just assumes that the government all knows what they're doing. And this is how, like, a lot of political apathy, I think, in Russia is developed. Just assumption like, oh, the government will figure it out. It's not my business.
Of course. So I think it's very good.
It's good. It's very good he got arrested. I don't know how much of this information is accurate. It's my first time hearing about it. And secondly, we know very well that in America, they can put presidents in jail for nothing. In the US. Yep.
Если говорить про Россию, вот человек просто участвовал.
This man participated. He expressed his opinion. Nowhere is there such freedom of speech as in Russia.
Даже в Америке.
Nowhere are there as many bloggers as in Russia.
Даже в Америке.
Even in America. Even in America.
Вот.
I see. A prosecutor that was put in place by the current U.S. administration could put the president in jail. They could put the ex-president in jail, but there is no such thing as an ex-president.
Зачем они сажают?
Why are they putting him in jail? They want to cover up their corruption. I didn't know that. Man, there's a lot to cover there. Number one, if you're curious how he got this in his head, Russian state TV has been talking about the indictment of Donald Trump recently, and their summation of the, like Solovyev on his show, their summation of the event is this. Wow, man, America's close to civil war. They're all going to kill each other. They arrested Trump because he's just so cool, and Biden just and he just wants him to lose the election. That's why they arrested. That's their summation of it. They don't talk about the 2020 election possibly being stolen. Not that they care, because they tried to spread misinformation both around the 2016 election, 2020 election. They don't talk about the election being stolen. They don't talk about the lies. They don't talk about him trying to set up fake electors. They don't talk about the specifics of the case. So all this guy really knows, or all he most likely knows, as he's been told on TV, is that Donald Trump is facing a trial where he could have legal repercussions for something he did in office. And he's assuming that it's because of corruption because Russian TV said so. It's really interesting to watch Russian narratives around Trump's indictment. It's really interesting to see it, because it is so far removed from reality, and they make sure to provide as little information as possible, because it's not like a lot of Russians would even know these details, so they could just leave it out and just make it look like he's being persecuted. Also, can I just say that it's hard for me to take that seriously? Like, oh, they arrest politicians in America. Oh, really? Alexei Navalny would love to have a conversation. Or here's another framing. The idea of a politician getting arrested for breaking the law, a president, a powerful person like a president, can only be seen as persecution, because there is no way that they could envision, or this guy could envision, a president being held accountable for his actions, no matter how much testimony and evidence they have. He's now facing 10 years in prison. How do you take it?
Как к этому относитесь?
I wouldn't like to answer.
А чё? Ну, комментировать-то
It's
это
okay to
можно.
comment.
Нет? Ну ладно.
Fine. How do I feel about it? Well, every country has its own dynamics. Ordinary citizens do not treat the situation in Ukraine the same way as military or politicians do. They have their own rules on how to calm the situation. And sometimes, of course, these rules are too strict. You might think they are crazy, but it does not change anything. I can't say that I accept the decision, and I want to say that you have to be careful. We also have rules in Turkey that are against freedom of speech, but that's in every country. Supporting Russia and Germany will take you to court. I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think just supporting Russia in Germany will necessarily put you in front of a court. I don't think that's the case. And in the United States, the limitations are usually things like yelling fire in like a crowded movie theater. Those limitations have been clearly kind of laid out. My advice to everyone is to keep beauty in your heart and keep the peace. Wow. What meaningless words. We need peace in the world. On the other hand, you need to understand a decision, but never accept it. Okay, well, not the worst sentiment. I think that it's really... I feel sad that... Oh, wait, she's saying English. Why am I reading it? I'm brain dead.
Надо понять, а все-таки никогда не принять. Я так думаю.
Well, I think that it's really... Well, I feel sad that in my country, which I love actually, people can't say what they really think, what they really feel. That's a problem. Yeah.
Нет, точно нужно комментировать.
Do I really need to comment about the situation with
Это
him?
точно не запрещено.
It's not illegal.
Ну, все понимают.
Everyone understands.
Вот, да, поэтому мы не хотим
We don't want to go to jail.
из-за этого.
А как относитесь к тому,
How do you feel about going to jail for expressing your
мнение
opinion?
своё выразить?
It's wild.
Ну, надо разбираться.
We need to delve deeper into this case.
Ну, он сказал, что не
He said he doesn't support the SMO and the Russian army committed crimes.
Все это
Facts! All facts, by the way.
все понимают.
Everyone
Как
understands.
сказать. И вы
You understand
понимаете,
it,
мы
we
понимаем.
understand.
Люди смотрят это всё.
People who watch it understand. Let's not participate in this.
Почему не будет?
Why don't you want to participate?
Ну, потому что мы боимся.
We are scared. We are very young ladies.
Я
Very healthy way to keep about a consensus for a war in your country. Inspire all the young men and women just to be so terrified of your regime to never speak out. Ah, yes, that famed Russian patriotism, Russian fan Jackson Hinkle was telling me about.
политику
I can't influence the country's politics in any way. I can't comment either.
влиять никак и не могу, и, ну, и комментарии давать тоже никак.
Unfortunately, I can't comment.
В России свой путь, это так...
Russia has always had its own
У нас
way.
путь можете вот как-то
What way?
реализовать?
Национальный...
The national idea, pride and patriotism.
И патриотизм.
Патриотизм это что значит?
What is
Можете
patriotism?
объяснить?
Любовь к родине.
It's the love of motherland. In order to love your country, you must arrest people you disagree with. That's the true patriotic calling.
Но выражать...
But you can't express an opinion, or you're asking for 10 years.
Кому-то, может быть, можно, кому-то...
Some people can, some people can't. I don't know. Oh, God, man, the state of affairs.
There is some running contest going on here. See right there. It's sponsored by Mir, and Mir is a Russian Visa or Russian MasterCard. It's for banking.
Yeah, it's very interesting situation, but you know, we have something problems in our political system in our country, and some people can face the prison for something normal things, and yeah, it's a problem, but I think
This interview is all going exactly how I thought it would go. It would go like the people who are hardcore Russian nationalists will be like, screw them, arrest them, I hate freedom, right? Or they'll pretend that they're free while being like, it's okay, they get arrested, right? We're the freest country on earth, right? But on the other end, the people who are actually against it are too scared to say anything because they've just been given a warning that a street interview can get you arrested. So do you want to criticize the arrest? What, criticize the arrest in the exact same format that got the guy arrested? Yeah, no thanks. No, it's no surprise everybody's reacting by like shuffling around, looking nervously at the camera like, ah, snap. What they see is a device that can get them kicked out of college and put in a cell for the next 10 years. They don't see just a camera. They see their future evaporating. That's what they see.
we can't change this at the moment.
Ну, я поддерживаю Россию.
I support
российскую
Russia
армию, Россия
and the
моя
Russian
первая
army.
родина, поэтому
Russia is
я
my
тоже
motherland, so
поддерживаю,
I support the
что
decision.
приняли такое
I love Russia, so arrest people who disagree with us. Gotcha. Okay,
На
gotcha.
10 лет в тюрьму.
10 years in prison.
20, это
Even if
считается,
it's 20
что
years.
изменник,
He's a
наверное.
traitor. He's a traitor to tell the truth about the Russian army. He deserves double the time. Demented. Demented. I would be scared to share a country with a person like this. Sadly, we do have people like this in the United States. He burnt the flag. 30 years. I mean, even Trump wanted that.
Ну, на 10 лет.
They want to give him 10 years.
Ну, свое мнение.
He's free to express his own opinion at his own house.
Здесь я только
Oh, so because he expressed it in public, that's the problem. So anybody who disagrees with the war needs to be in private, but everybody who supports the war needs to be in public.
хочешь выразить свое
If you want to
мнение,
express an opinion publicly, expect accountability.
и жди ответственности. Просто выражать мнение.
Every opinion must have its consequences,
Каждое мнение должно
or its permissiveness.
свои последствия.
Well, if the Russian opinion is rah-rah the war, the consequence is gonna probably be more drone attacks on Moscow. I do think people should probably realize that, and more young Russians being sent off to die.
Хороший или
Good or bad, can or can't, everyone takes responsibility for
берет
themselves.
на себя ответственность. А тем более выкладывать
especially if it's posted on YouTube. That's mass
для
influence.
всеобщего обозрения, но влияет на массы. Если он хочет...
If he wants to influence the masses, he should be held accountable. What I mean, held accountable for what? Telling the truth that the Russian military... Basically, if you tell the truth in Russia about the Russian army committing crimes, you can go to prison, or you will go to prison, as in you will. It is illegal to tell the truth about the Russian army in Russia. I want that on the record. And people are terrified to tell the truth about the Russian army in Russia. And there are Russian nationalists in Russia who are excited, ecstatic to throw people in prison, throw them away for telling the truth about how their brothers and fathers are going off to rape and pillage in the neighboring country. Because no one wants to describe their father or brother as a rapist and a murderer, do they? I think we should maintain neutrality. Oh, Russians should be neutral on the war they started. Again, many heard Bordorov's words. One should support one's country in any case during war. We should maintain neutrality at the very least. Okay, so here's a question then. Does he believe that during World War II, all the German soldiers should have fought for their country till the end? Or in Vietnam, all the American soldiers should have kept fighting until the end? Or what about Afghanistan? Should the Soviets have stayed in Afghanistan for another few decades until they garner victory, even if it accelerated the collapse of the state? And I don't know, a loss of 50% government revenue, not a good thing for Russian stability. We're even seeing military mutinies that are marching on Moscow. It doesn't look like the country's very stable. Could you not love your country and come to the conclusion that in order to save your country, you need to stop this slaughter? I'll say that he shouldn't have spoken out about it, and I'll give you the following quote. Have the courage to have an opinion and have the wisdom to hide it. A terrible quote. It's not very cool or right, but it was to be expected. This is not the first such precedent. There have also been cases of insulting the feelings of believers in our country. Sometimes it's really, really weird stuff. But sometimes people get put in jail for not very radical jokes. Life in general is unfair, but what can we do? We can't influence anything. We can't. Yet we can't. Us Russians are powerless. We have to rape. We have to murder. We have to do war crimes. What else can we do? We're powerless in the system. We're powerless. If this guy got drafted and he was sent to Ukraine to go kill, he'd like hold like a POW at gunpoint. I'm sorry, I gotta hold you at gunpoint as they castrate you. I'm powerless to do anything. I'm powerless. Look how powerless Look how powerless I am. Look, I understand that you're fighting against a gigantic, entrenched pro-war establishment that will throw you in prison, but the last thing you should do is make excuses to the complicity of the population in the targeted war of annihilation being launched against your neighbor. Not really probably how you want to remember yourself or your people in the history books. What's the history books going to say about the Russian people? They could have stopped it, but they decided, it was too difficult. It was easier to send your father off to die in a dirt hole that he can't protect because he doesn't have proper support from a Russian MOD mismanaging the war. We can't. You're just a cog like the rest of us. We have to mind our own business so we don't get punished like him. Can you remind me of that Sergei Bordrov quote? You can't speak ill of your own when there's a war going on. About your own country. How is it our country if we can't influence anything? Is it our country then? Well, because... How to explain it? Damn! Damn! One follow-up question. This debate. This 1420 guy's a debate bro. How is it our country if we don't control anything? Maybe it's not our country? No, it's ours. But if we can't influence anything, then whose country is it then? We're guests here. We were born here. How can we be guests? But we don't have the influence. We're some kind of guests. You need to be somebody to be influential. Who do you need to be? You don't have any influence here, but the oil tycoons do. Oh, so the Russian state is You know that old joke about Russia being a giant gas station with nukes? If only the oil tycoons have power, then that joke is closer to reality than many people would like to suggest. And I think also that's an exaggeration. But the way that's being painted right now, it aligns with that stereotype. Do you want to be an oil tycoon? Why would I? I'm an artist. No, I'm an artist. I'm an artist. See, as an artist, I believe freedom of expression is stupid. We shouldn't fight for it. And just don't ever speak out ever. These are the true values of good art. It is to stay in line and don't be controversial.
Isn't it interesting that in Russia people are allowed to do military coup?
Military coup?
Yeah.
What is it?
Like 1 month ago when army was going to Moscow.
I think that's just...
What? Yeah. People are allowed to do this and they will be free to go, right? But they are not allowed to express opinion.
Mostly people...
It's a good point. I mean, the Wagner coup or mutiny or whatever you want to call it ended up killing about like 12 to 20 Russian airmen. And none of those people who killed those soldiers just blew them out of the sky. None of them are going to see a day in prison. But this guy says the truth about Russian soldiers committing war crimes, 10 years. Yeah, I think the Russian army and the Russian state has its priorities out of order.
Will support the army, the regular army of Russian Federation. And this situation, I think, mostly people support it. And this Wagner party, when they go to Moscow, I think it was a kind of a special thing, just to relocate the Wagner company.
Yeah, you know, when I move, you know, actually, today I had to bring a bunch of gear into my office to do today's show. That's, yeah, and on the way here, I killed 20 Ukrainian airmen. Just walking down it, because most times when you move any company resources or finances, you just, you know, you murder people. That's just kind of part of the process. But, you know, when Microsoft moved its location, it shot down 6 American jets during that process.
To another part.
Man, Ron DeSantis better hope that he doesn't piss off Disney too much, or they might relocate to like Georgia or somewhere, and who knows how many Floridians they're gonna kill on the way out.
Of the Russian Federation or the Belarus, just to do something more. So I think it was just a strategic maneuver.
Yeah, and the Russian government was strategically digging holes in random roads on the way to Moscow, hoping that the divot in the road could stop the advance of Wagner's armored columns. Yeah, strategic, but very strategic maneuver.
We interview people, Russian people and foreigners watch our videos, and when they hear opinion like yours, they usually write something like, why are you not on the front line yet, still?
If I got an invitation, I'll go to support it. Like my grandfather goes to the Second World War, my father even go there. If I need to help my country, I'll go there and I'll work. But I'm not.
Okay, so he'll go when he's asked. You know, he doesn't need to volunteer. He'll go when he's asked. As always, good stuff from 1420. Also, very symbol with the peace tattoo on his neck, huh? I know I didn't mention it the whole video, but yeah, very subtle. Very subtle, huh?